Great. I'd like to give a special thanks to our community event sponsors, Bristol Myers Squibb, Amgen Oncology, Karyopharm Therapeutics, AbbVie, Adaptive Biotechnologies, Genentech, Oncopeptides, and Takeda Oncology. So now is the time to formally introduce Karolina Faysman, and she is certified in the Advanced Oncology practice and is an active member of the Advanced oh my gosh, I can't pronounce that word this morning. Hematological Oncology Society. She is currently pursuing a doctorate in clinical practice at Azusa Pacific University, researching minimal residual profile and acute leukemia. She participated and continues to participate in multiple clinical trials. Her main clinical topics include acute leukemia, aggressive lymphoma, graft versus host disease, and myeloma. And she is, sorry, I have my notes all mixed up today. I wasn't planning on working from home, but that's just how things go sometimes. So she obtained her BSN in California State University, Los Angeles in June of 1999 and began her career in oncology in June of 1999 at UCLA Department of Hematological Malignancies and Cellular Therapy. And then she went on to obtain a degree from in advanced oncology practice, and her residency was at UCLA. In October of 2002, she accepted a position as a lead nurse practitioner in the same department, and that's where she continues to practice up to currently. So we're excited to have her here today and present to us about how XPOVIO works in your body. And with that being said, Karolina, the time is now yours to present. So thank you. There we go. I can hear you now.
All right, everyone. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh.
Sorry, I know it's tricky sometimes.
It says that it's sharing.
If you want to try one more time, sometimes it's just glitchy and it takes a couple tries. So
let me try again. All right, it's not letting me share for some reason. Do you mind sharing?
No, not at all. Let me do that. So
we tried it before and it worked really well.
I know, I feel like that always happens. But let me pull those up now.
So while we do that, just wanted first of all to thank you for inviting me. I'm really truly honored to be part of this and to be able to see you guys. And I want to congratulate you and just tell you how an I'm with every single one of you of dealing with this disease and striving and being a part of society and doing the things you do. I have currently 234 myeloma patients on my panel. Every single patient is almost as part of my family. I've seen them, I've known them for years. Very happy to be able to offer so many new therapies for you guys. And this has been the most gratifying experience for me as a healthcare provider, to be able to scratch my head because there's so many options out there now for multiple myeloma patients versus when I started back in 1990s. We had very little, and I really want to thank the scientists for helping us advance, and I want to thank the Health Grade for helping me, allowing me to be here. So thank you for inviting me. So today we will talk about XPOVIO. It's a very different type of therapy, and I participated in a clinical trial both now and almost 5 or 6 years ago when it was initially introduced on the market, or tried to be introduced on the market. It's a very interesting medication. It's very different the way it works. A lot of people are a bit spooked about using of it because of potential clinical trial, potential side effects. However, properly managed, the side effect profile is such that it will allow you to manage your health and manage your ability to take this medication properly. And hopefully I'll be able to get some of those tips across to you from my patients, from the experience that I've had dealing with some of the side effects today. Next slide, please. So XPOVIO, or selinexor, is a prescription medicine, of course, and it's used in combination with dexamethasone, which all of you know and hate, I'm sure, just like we do. But it is used in combination with dexamethasone in treatment with patients with multiple myeloma who have shown a relapse and did not respond to previous therapies, considered to be refractory. Relapse means that the disease had come back, and refractory means that the disease has not responded to therapy. You have to have at least had 4 prior therapies, and the disease had to not respond to at least 2 proteasome inhibitors. Proteasome inhibitors are the drugs such as Velcade, Kyprolis, and or Nelara. Those are 3 proteasome inhibitor drugs that are on the market now. And anti-CD38 monoclonal antibody medicines such as daratumumab, which one of there's 2 drugs on the market now. Daratumumab is one of them most commonly used. Next slide, please. So what's XPO? Why are we talking about it? What does it mean? What is XPO1? I mean, those are just the numbers and the letters. What it is, it's really important part within the nucleus of the cell. The nucleus of the cell is like a heart of the cell. It's where everything, it's a heart and the brain of the cell. It's put together. So the cell does not have a heart separately. It has a heart and brain together. Sometimes we need that too, huh? A heart needs to be in the brain, and it's not there all the time. But the cell heart and brain is together, and it's in the nucleus. And the part of that nucleus is important function of the cell. Without a proper healthy nucleus, the cell cannot function. The nucleus decides what to do for the cell, how frequently to divide, where to go, what to do, and how long to stay alive. So that specific protein maintains the balance and makes sure that the cell functions properly. Specifically, it's important in maintaining the balance between certain proteins. When it's overproduction of one protein versus another, the cell cannot function properly. It cannot divide. The cell has to be in a perfect situation in order for it to divide in a proper healthy cells in order to produce healthy cells. And unfortunately, in the cancer cell, the nucleus is programmed such as to produce multiple unhealthy cells for us, but they're perfect cells in its biological structure, cancer cells that have a mechanism of not only dividing and proportionally and without a checkpoint, but also they have this open visa. They go anywhere they want to, they don't care about COVID. They can travel all over the world, your body, and they can stick their noses where it doesn't belong. It gets stuck to different areas where it shouldn't be there. It's like having, a toddler there all the time. So there it goes and sticks their noses and touches things and does that, things like that. So the medication that we have now currently in multiple myeloma specifically are targeted how to fix that so the cell is no longer able to do that. So this particular drug in the XPO1 protein, the cells have this important anti-cancer material, or it's a special matrix that can only work in the cell's core within the nucleus. This specific protein carries these materials from the nucleus to another part of the cell in order for the cell to divide. So it's in a way of a transportation for the cell division. Without that specific protein, the cell cannot go through the process of that division that I talked about. In order to keep the cell balanced, this particular protein only carries the right amount of anti-cancer material out of the nucleus. That's what it does. It's unfortunately there to promote cancer cell. And in order for the cancer cell to be a perfect biological structure. So that protein makes the cancer cell perfectly able to survive anything that we can throw at it, because it balances that ability of the cell to decide how much of protein to balance in and out. So when the cell has been already attacked by proteasome inhibitors or by monoclonal antibody, it had been able to now survive. It had gone through the process of clonal expansion, which means it goes through the process of what I call it Darwinism, or Darwin theory of development. It's able to now sustain this attack from the proteasome inhibitors and from monoclonal antibodies, and now it's able to balance that transition of the protein between the nucleus and the cytoplasm, and the cell is now surviving. So it stops working. So the proteasome inhibitors and the CD30 antibodies stop working, because the specific protein was able to figure it out how to balance things out in order for the cell to survive. And it's kind of scary. It's almost, gosh, this myeloma cell has a mind of its own, and it does. And if anybody doubts the Darwin theory, just look at myeloma cells, the only myeloma cells survive are the ones who are able to do that specific function. How does it do? We have no idea yet. But what we're now knowing what to do is how to break that ability of the cell to do that. Next slide, please. So how does it work? So this is a slide that shows what happens in the cancer cell that it is not exposed to XPOVIO. So in the cancer cell, the protein moves to many anti-cancer material back and forth in order to balance the cell, in order to allow the cell to divide. And not only it only allows the cell to divide, but it gives the cell an extra promotion for cell to go through the better cell development process. So it's a perfectly biological structure. Unfortunately, it's a cancerous biological structure. Not only it balances things out, but it's giving the cell, again, an extra cleaner source of energy, allowing the cell to divide faster, better, to protect itself from our own immune system that is trying to attack it. And it also allows it to go through the process of proliferation, means that it's moving out in different places. The cancer cells are able to grow and survive and flourish because they're no longer affected by proteasome inhibitors or by our own immune system through the monoclonal antibody or our own, and it just kind of goes on untouched. It's like having a grandchild with grandparents. Here, have as much chocolate as you want because you're going to go back to your parents later. So what happens with the cells that do get exposed to XPOVIO? XPOVIO blocks that protein from functioning. It doesn't allow that protein to do the balancing act. In this particular picture, you see that the cancer cell XPOVIO stops the XPO1 from carrying too many of this important material back and forth, and the anti-cancer materials stay in the nucleus cell, within the nucleus, within the heart and the brain of the cell. And because it just sits there, the cell is not able to go through the process of division, proliferation, or migration. So the cell eventually dies. And the cell death, because it's a direct damage to the cell. It's not done through the process of exterior immune system, or is done outside of the cell. The damage to the cell happens within the cell. Most of other anti-myeloma therapy either require the outside of the nucleus activity on the cell, or it requires outside of the cell activity, such as a monoclonal antibody. They pretty much ask for the backup of the immune system to kill the cell. The XPOVIO function on the nucleus of the cell. So it actually attacks the nucleus of the cell, or prevents the nucleus of the cell from being functioning in a normal way, because the protein there, those anti-cancer proteins, sits within the cell and cell dies. So that's the major difference between the XPOVIO and other agents that we have on the market. Next slide, please. So now, we know that we kind of know how XPOVIO works. We know what's the importance of that protein is that makes XPOVIO functionable. So what are some of the side effects that that's important to you? I mean, we can kill myeloma, but how do we do that in combination of making sure that you guys have a good quality of life? As a nurse practitioner, for me, a nurse practitioner with some years of experience. I'm not going to say how many years because it makes me sound old. The important for me is not only give you quantity of life, but to give you quality of life. So if you are telling me that, if I can tell you, oh, myeloma is gone, there's, no disease, and you tell me that I hate my life, I would rather die from myeloma than get, suffer through that, I failed. This is not something that I want. I want you to be able to, like Mr. Cisneros has his dog, enjoying his dog, his puppy who was just barking there. Enjoying your family, your grandkids, your gardening, whatever it is that you do in life. So my job is to make sure that the therapy that we're providing for you is done in such a way that we can manage your side effects properly, that you can benefit from the medication, but also not sustain severe side effects and be able to have a good quality of life. Some of the side effects is tiredness. I always tell my patients to try, and I do it for my patients, I document to assess the tiredness. I know we give you probably the scale 0 to 10. Well, it's it's very subjective. For you, 7, maybe not for me 7, and for you 5, maybe not for me 5. So so what I do is I document. So my patient will tell me, well, I'm fatigue 5. Well, what does it mean to you? Well, I can only walk my dog to the end of the corner, and then I'm absolutely exhausted. document that 3 months from now, when we talk about the fatigue, says, I'm so tired, I'm just so tired, I can't. Well, tell me, are you able to do that? Well, I can walk my dog all the way to the park, but then that's it. Well, but 3 months ago, you can only walk your dog to the corner of the street. Now you can go all the way to the park. As humans, as we want to do more, as we feel better, we want to do more. And the more we do, the more we want to do. It's important to focus, to understand what is the fatigue level is, to be able to help. Other ways of managing fatigue is trying to do a hygiene, sleep hygiene. Well, I'm so tired. I'm napping all the time throughout the day. I have no energy. Well, how many hours do you sleep at night? Oh, I can't sleep at all. I sleep maybe 3-4 hours. Well, that's not good, because if you're not having your normal sleep pattern where you get at least, I'm not talking about 8 hours. Forget about 8 hours. Dexamethasone, I'm sure, takes that away from you for good. At least if you get those 6 hours of REM sleep where you're asleep fully, where your mind is asleep mainly, when you're dreaming, that type of a sleep, that will give you some form of energy later during the day. And we can try different methods of helping you sleep. There's a different medication and non-medication ways. Some people do well with meditation. Some people say the more I meditate, the more anxious I get. I can't do it. For some people, exercising before going to sleep makes them wired. For some people, it's at night. And please don't be afraid to take medications. You're not going to get hooked on it. The medications will help you, and I know the more medications we give you, the more side effects there are. But there's some medications that have a very easy profile. Some of them are more natural way, use of the melatonin, use of other herbal substances that you need to tell your doctor which herbal medicines you take, because you cannot take some of the herbal medicines with oral medications. But for example, root of Valerie, it's a very safe tea. You can drink the tea and it may relax you. And for some people, you do need to take Ambien or something stronger to help you sleep through the night. The importance of hygiene of sleep will make it or break it. Not only that it will help you with fatigue, but it will help you with everything else throughout the day. The clinical trials have shown that people who don't get enough sleep have higher chance of developing infections because your cortisol is all over the place. You get more constipated, the anorexia, other physical effects of non-sleepiness. You get more agitated. And it's not allowing you to have a healthier lifestyle. And again, I'm not talking about 8 hours sleep. I know it's I'm trying to be very I'm trying to be quite realistic here. I'm not looking at something that is not realistic, but let's hope for at least 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep at night. And that morning sleep is very important, particularly from midnight until 6 in the morning. That's the most important part of the sleep, that what our sleep neurologists had told us over the years. Anemia, and some of you already have anemia from the disease. It depends on what therapy you have had before or how much of myeloma has affected the bone marrow. The anemia may be there. And I have no problems of dealing with anemia in the most aggressive way. We talk about blood transfusions, of course, but it takes time out of your life. It's 2-4 hours. You have to go for blood tests first, then you have to go wait for the blood to be ready, then you have to get transfused, and it can get sweat. Ask your doctor about growth factors. The growth factors of multiple myeloma have been studied for decades, have been very effectively used. It does not increase the risk of other potential side effects if it's used properly, meaning to keep your hemoglobin at least close to 10. Also, use of other reasons for developing of anemia. Multiple myeloma can frequently attack your own red cells because multiple myeloma is a disease of the immune system. So ask your doctor, have you looked to see if my immune system is attacking my red blood cells? Do I have something called hemolytic anemia? And that is also correctable, very easily correctable, and that will allow you to have a better red cells, which will help you with fatigue, with weakness, with shortness of breath, with outlook on life. When your hemoglobin, and some people can tolerate different numbers, of course, but when your hemoglobin in low numbers, you feel tired. That will definitely, there's no question about it. Makes your heart race, you get short of breath, and it depresses you, just this overall feeling. So definitely a very important part of it. Constipation. The importance of constipation, again, sleep deprivation can cause constipation because you tend to nap during the day. You're not as active. You're not drinking enough water. Using proper nutrition with full of fiber is really important. However, some of the medication that you may take would make that fiber really sticky, like a clay, and you will be able to get even more constipated. If you are taking extra fiber, it's really, really, really important to drink at least 2.5 liters of fluids a day. It doesn't have to be water. It can be anything that you like to drink, as long as it's caffeine free. Really important to drink. Increased blood sugar, anybody, you guys, some of you may have had diabetes to begin with. Some of you have developed insulin resistance because of the long use of dexamethasone. So again, being careful about your diet, being careful of monitoring your blood sugar, not going over, because again, blood sugar going from 300 to 40 and back to 300 will completely mess up with your ability to function normally, will increase fatigue and so forth. The medication can also cause changes in the blood salt, specifically sodium. So your doctor will be checking for sodium and see if there's a need for additional sodium in your diet. And people say, what? Everybody told me to have less sodium in my diet. Well, sometimes they will actually tell you, eat a couple of saltines a day or something salty to increase your salt in the diet, because low sodium can make you very, very tired, make you very weak, can also make you so weak and so tired that you can become somnolent, where you are just sleepy all the time. Your caregiver needs to know about that. If you start feeling that not that you're barely arousable, but if you are feeling really, really sleepy and you have a hard time waking up during the day, this is something that could be dangerous. It could be an infection, or it could be changes in your salt. It also could be due to the kidney and liver function changes that can make you very sleepy and tired. If you had been on dialysis before, or on dialysis now, or have abnormal renal function, that's even more important to focus on that in order to be able to catch it early. And I'm sure your doctor will be checking that as well. But those are the questions that you may be asking your doctor. Next slide, please. So what's important information to your healthcare provider will do the blood test prior to starting taking XPOVIO, and then doing them often during at least first couple of months of being on XPOVIO. In my practice, I have about a dozen of patients on XPOVIO now off clinical trial. When I start patient XPOVIO, the first week we have a very frequent visits, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to schlep all the way to my clinic. We have blood, laboratories all over the place. Some physicians or some providers will tell you, no, just come here. It's much easier for you to come to my place, of course, because I'm right there, the labs are right there. I don't have to call anyone to get your labs, but it's all about you, not about me. So if you live an hour away from me, I'm not going to make you come to me. You will go to the local lab, get your labs drawn so I can follow it and make changes if needed early on in order to avoid complications. My goal is to get as much of drug into you with the minimal side effect profile and without need to do dose modification. And the only way for me to do that if I'm following you properly. But again, there's no need, a lot of patients say, I don't, it's impossible for me to have, I'm not going to take it because I have to do all those labs and I can't drive all the way to your place. I'm in California, so we, a little bit of rain here and we'll all fall apart. But I'm sure some of you, live where there's actually weather pattern changes. Fire, it really gets bad here when it's fire season, but otherwise, people it's a little rain and there's people can go outside. Anyway, so again, it's about you. It's not about me. I will pick up the phone and call the local lab and find your results. I will pick up the phone and fax the orders to the local lab for you to go 5 minutes away from your house to get those labs so I can evaluate you. Again, remember, don't feel threatened or don't feel embarrassed to tell your doctor. Don't try to make him feel or her, make them like you. They like you. Make it that it's about you. It's your life, and we try to. I know I'm really fun to be around, and people just love me. But the less you see me, the less you come to my clinic, the better for you. And that's what my goal is, to keep you away from me as much as possible. So based on the results, we may have to change the dose. We may have to hold the dose a little bit before we start it again. So also don't be frightened to tell us about the side effects. And I always tell my patients, some patients say, oh, this is my last shot. I'm just going to take it. I don't care about side effects. I'm going to take it. It's better for you to tell me if things are happening early on, so we can work together to make it better. Like I tell my daughter, you're not going to get in trouble for lying, for doing something bad. You're going to get in trouble for lying. Same here. You will not get it. There's a very less likelihood of me stopping the drug altogether if I know ahead of time that something's happening. So I can intervene early on and change some of the things that we're doing in order to make it happen. if this is a medication that this particular medication for you causing you to have diarrhea. Well, don't wait until the point where you're, leaving the bathroom. Start telling me that when your pattern changes. A lot of my patients are creating what's called, one of my patients called it a pooping diary, because I asked him to keep a track of the pattern. He says, "Would you like to have pictures?" I said, "Sure, why not? I mean, I'm a nurse. I don't care." It's because sometimes you're not focusing on it, and when the pattern changes, just starting to change. For example, instead of going to the bathroom once a day, now you're going twice a day. Well, that's a pattern. That's a change. Well, perhaps we can stop some of the anti-constipation medications you're on to avoid developing diarrhea, or the other way around. You used to go 3 times a day, now you're only going once a day. Well, maybe we need to start something different to avoid you from getting, because constipation will lead to nausea, diarrhea will lead to nausea, constipation will lead to dehydration, nausea, diarrhea will lead to dehydration. So a lot of those things are all combined. The more nauseous you are, the less you're drinking, the more constipated you will get, the more tired you'll get. Eventually you'll get dehydrated, you have to come in, get fluids, we have to stop the drug. If I know it ahead of time something's happening, we can fix it and we can prevent it from getting into the bad part of it. Next slide, please. Low platelet counts. Again, some of you already have low blood and low white counts and low platelet counts because of the previous treatment, because of the disease. Again, use of, there's a very aggressive use of support, meaning that either transfusion of platelets or there's also growth factor for platelets like there is for red cells. It's called Nplate. It's also used very well in multiple myeloma to keep the platelets in a normal range. In my practice, when I have a patient who I'm starting on XPOVIO, whose platelets are already in the lower range, I will start them on Nplate ahead of time because I know that there is a very high risk that platelets will drop. So doing kind of a preventive ahead of time, not chasing it later on. Anything that we can do ahead of time to create that wonderful base for the medication to start, or better base at least. So when you're planting something, you want that, you want that dirt to be as best as possible before you put the plant in. The same here. Let's get your, red cells better. Let's get the platelets better. I get frequent nosebleeds, anything and I bleed. Well, maybe we need to keep your platelets in a higher range to prevent unnecessary visits to emergency rooms. So again, we need to know as much as we can about you. There's never unnecessary information. Don't listen to people who tell you, okay, my gosh, she's coming with a laundry list. I want that laundry list because somewhere in that laundry list, there's something that I need, and I will find it. And if you have a good relationship with your provider, nurse, a doctor, whomever that is in your system, they'll find something that is important in that laundry list. I don't believe in unnecessary laundry list. There's always something there. Just keep writing down things. When you go to the doctor, you have that in front of you. This is what thoughts have come up to me. And if they take, they look at you and roll their eyes, walk away, find another doctor. Low white blood counts. Again, this is something that is very, very, very important. You guys are at very high risk of developing infections, specifically opportunistic infections. Talk about COVID now, huh? The number one cause of death in multiple myeloma is not in multiple myeloma. It's the infection that patients catch while battling multiple myeloma. Whether you're in remission or not, your immune system is not able to properly function or properly fight all the infections. Make sure that your doctor had put you on proper antimicrobial prophylactic therapy. All of my patients are taking anti-shingle medications. Because it's like in California earthquake, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to happen, even if you've been vaccinated with the Shingrix, which is not live anti-shingles vaccine. Make sure all your vaccinations are in order. Some of the places recommend vaccinations for pneumonia every 2 years, not every 5 years for patients with multiple myeloma. Use of IVIG is really important. That's intravenous immunoglobulin, which gives you support to help your immune system fight infection. During the flu season, all my patients are on IVIG, but the majority of my patients are on IVIG all the time. Also, always have to have in your house antibiotics. If something happens in the middle of the night, you can communicate with your provider and start antibiotics early on. The timing of initiation of therapy in multiple myeloma is absolutely important. I've had patients who had sniffles on Saturday, by Monday had bilateral pneumonias. So again, very important to have that to have that communications. I'd rather you call me in the middle of the night to tell me that you have sniffles than not call me and then 2 days later to find out that you have pneumonia. I do want those calls, and we choose to be on call. It's not something, you're not bothering me. If I don't want to be on call, I will have my colleague, we get paid for it. Okay, so don't worry about bothering us. That's why we're here for. We're here to make sure that that we are here to serve you. That's, you are our priority. Don't care, I don't want you to think, oh gosh, she has family, she has other patients. You are you. You are the only one in my life. I don't have anybody else in my life except Beth Ann. That's all who I have in my life right now. And that's what you need to think. That's how you need to think. And I don't want, I never want you to feel frightened or afraid to call your doctor or whomever is it that you're calling in the middle of the night. I'd rather know about it early. Start the antibiotic that you have that we've talked about. I'll see you at 8 o'clock in the morning in clinic, or let me call your doctor locally and they'll see you at 8 o'clock in the morning. So those things, the signs of infections, are very important to pay attention to. And your caregiver should know that too, because you may not be able to mount a fever because your immune system is not functioning properly, but you may be a little bit strange. So one of my patients' wife called me. She said, something's wrong with Joe. He's too nice. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's always nice. Well, he's nice to you. He's not nice to me. And now he's way too nice to me. Something's wrong with him. He was right. He was septic. He had a urinary tract infection. So, she picked it up because we talked about it. Any changes in mental status, any changes in the behavior, you need to tell me. That could be a sign of infection. So I told Julie has to be nice to her. Nancy's a really nice lady. And he said, you try being married to her for 50 years. I said, okay. So anyway, so again, those things, for me, it's important to know who is your family member, who is that person who is going to tell me that Joe is being too nice to her. Next slide, please. Nausea and vomiting and or diarrhea. Again, can't talk enough about telling us ahead of time what things are happening. I need to know what your diet is. I need to know what you like and what you don't like. One time, one of my patients, I sent one of the physicians I work with sent the patient to dietitian or nutritionist. And the patient came back and he said, I hate this diet that she put me on. And I started looking at the diet, and she put him on a full American diet. And the patient is from Guatemala. And he said, I don't eat toast in the morning. That's not what I eat. I need to know what your preferences are. So if I'm modifying your diet or giving you suggestions, I will download and I will research what the diet is for you in your ethical background or for your family. Maybe it has nothing to do with the ethical background. Maybe it's just, I hate oatmeal. I just don't eat oatmeal. And everybody's pushing that oatmeal to me. I don't want to eat oatmeal. Well, I need to know that so I can help you, guide you through some of the diet, which foods to avoid, which foods to make sure you're focusing on. What are there other methods of anti-nausea? Which other natural substances we can use, like ginger? Oh, I hate ginger. I cannot take ginger. Or no, I love ginger. Let me try that. Things like that. Again, anti-diarrhea medicines, we talked about that. Any changes, that pooping diarrhea is absolutely important to know if what changes are happening early on. And actually, the pooping diarrhea is something that I get emailed to me once a week when the patient goes on XPOVIO, because the nausea and the pooping diarrhea gets emailed to me once a week. So I can tell how frequently is it happening. Is the regimen that I have you on is working? If it's not working, we need to change it. There's so many options out there. The earlier I know, you don't have to live with it. There's no reason to live with it. This one patient said, well, I can use some, but I want to lose weight. Oh my God, no, that's not what we want to do. I do not want you to lose weight now. That's not time to lose weight. And the dexamethasone will not let you lose weight anyway, so forget about it. So this is not, there's other ways of managing you to make sure that you can live your health, you live your life in a as the best quality of life that we can hope for you with the medications and with a very good control of it. As long as I know what's happening. Everybody is individual. There's no such thing as this is a regimen and that's all you do. Well, I don't know why it's not working for you because it's working for my patient. Well, again, Beth A and I'm going to totally butcher Mr. Velboyer name, so I'm not even going to try. I'm going to do Judith Morris. It's much easier. English my second language, so it's harder. So you're two different people. The regimen that works for one person is not going to work for another person, or it may. I don't know. But it's important to me to know, when is the nausea? Do you feel nauseous before you eat? Do you not feel nauseous after you eat? Do you throw up 3 hours after you eat, or you throw up before you eat? Because even the smell of the food makes you nauseous. All of those things are important to me, because then it will be a different regimen that I will put you on based on what I know, based on what you tell me. So again, there's no such thing as a useless laundry list. I need to know exactly what you're feeling, so I can manage it. Because if you feel nauseous before you eat versus you feel nauseous after you eat, there'll be totally different medicines I will be recommending for you. Loss of appetite and weight loss, which linked very closely to nausea and vomiting again. There are, first of all, there are medication that will, sometimes we just can't can't do anything outside of the medications with the loss of appetite, and we cannot afford any weight loss right now. So there are medicines to help you with weight loss. In California, in a lot of states, we have derivatives of cannabis that are available that works absolutely wonderfully with a lot of things. Kind of kills several birds with one stone. It helps with the nausea, it helps with the weight loss, helps with the appetite, with the mood, with a lot of things. But there's other prescription medicine that we can try to help you with the stabilization of weight. We can try changing the diet. What would you like to eat? Just think about it in your head. Well, anything that I think in my head, that I want to eat, then when I smell it, I cannot eat it anymore. Well, don't be in the house when the food is cooked. Don't stay in the room. Go outside while and have come in when the food is cooled down so you don't smell it. There's different tips that are out there that can definitely help you to get you into this. And it's not, the point is with the XPOVIO, that loss of appetite is not a lifelong effect. It usually wears out. We just need to get you through that hump. And a lot of people don't have the hump. A lot of times you do need to do a dose adjustment. We tried everything we could and it's still not working. So we need to do dose adjustment. So don't be afraid of the dose adjustment. The medication will still work. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. There are other medications available, but you cannot keep taking the medicine, feel terrible, be in bed, have horrible quality of life, because that's not what we want. That's not what the company that made this drug want for you either. So communication, again, is extremely important. Next slide, please. Again, we talked about the decreased sodium levels. So in some cases, XPOVIO can cause a drop in sodium, and your doctor may tell you you need to limit free water. You need to drink other fluids like Gatorade and other fluids that has sodium in it. You should eat a couple of crackers. And you say, well, I cannot eat salt because I'm already swollen from dexamethasone. It's going to make me puffy. I cannot do that. Well, sometimes, again, we need to balance things out, because low sodium level will lead you to be more tired, very weak, very fatigued, very somnolent, will make you nauseous, and will, again, it's like a circle. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that is never ending. So some of the things we'll have to balance out. Again, we talked about serious infections. Cannot focus strong enough of how important that information is to us. How important it is for me to know that you have sniffles. Don't think that it's allergy. Oh, just allergies, not going to call her. If it's allergies, it's allergies. Not a big deal. It's just a phone call. Most of our patients, again, when they go home, they have a urinary collection kit at home. They have a stool collection kit at home. They have antibiotics at home. Because of the frequent use of antibiotics, the risk of developing infection in the gut called C. diff is pretty high for you guys. So when patients develop diarrhea, don't immediately assume that it's medication. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you have such bad cramps and you run to the bathroom and you poop, and it's so loud that the cats ran away and the people had to move out because of the smell, it's not a medication. It's C. diff most likely. It's some form of infection. So again, I need that description. I need those pictures. I need that smell. I need all of it to be able to predict a bit. But again, the worst thing you could do is to have my patient, well, you have diarrhea. Okay, well, come over, let me examine you. I can't come over because I have diarrhea. Well, I have to see you. Well, no, I don't have to see you. You can get the stool collected locally. I can send the nurse to your house to give you some IV fluids if I have to. And we can treat you this way without having to drive you 3 hours to me with diarrhea. I mean, it's like I would only probably wish it to not even my enemy to do that. So when you're cramping and you're having diarrhea, there's, again, stand your stills. I cannot come 2 hours. I just can't. Please send the nurse to my house. Please get me get me what I need at home. And there's a way to do that. And of course, if you need to go to emergency room locally, you need to go to emergency locally. But there's a lot of things we can do at home. I have contacts with home health agencies throughout my territory that including patients coming from Vegas. So it's just one phone call away to create that network. So I know whom to call within minutes. We can get within a couple of hours, we can get somebody out there. It may be a little bit harder with COVID time, but it's still manageable. You just got to stand your grounds. Next slide, please. Neurological side effects, specifically, it can link very closely to low sodium. So when the sodium drops really low, it can cause changes in the way it can make changes in your mental status. It also can, as we talked about, the infection can cause as well. Also, any changes in liver function, kidney function can cause also changes in mental status. Being dehydrated can make you dizzy, but some of the neurological effects have been also linked to XPOVIO. Next slide, please. Again, what else you need to know about? So talk to your healthcare provider before you change. You yourself don't change the dose or don't stop medication. Unless something's happened, you just couldn't take it, call your doctor, let them know, you know what, I couldn't take the medicine today. I just couldn't. I skipped it. You need to swallow it whole. You do not break it. You do not chew it. You do not crush it. It has to be swallowed whole with water. If you're taking any other medicines that we don't know about, you need to let us know. And by medicine, I mean anything that you take by mouth that is not candy, or if you drink anything that is not regular Lipton tea, I need to know about it. Here in Los Angeles, a lot of people like to take all kinds of herbal stuff, and which is good. I like herbal stuff, but I need to know about it because I don't know how it will affect the clearance or the toxicity from XPOVIO. So I need to know about it. One of my patients said, I'm drinking this tea and it's made of some mushrooms and some skin of the snake. Is it okay? I said, I have no idea. I have no idea what skin you're drinking of which snake. I just don't want you to take it because I don't know what effect is going to be on it. My other patient was taking something that helps him with his bowel habits, but that made him have diarrhea. So he wouldn't tell me until I literally had to threaten him that I come to the house and look through the medicine cabinets. Then he told me that he's taking it. Again, this is something that I need to know. We can figure it out how to substitute. Some of the medicine will not let you drink grapefruit juice. We can find something else that you would enjoy. So again, I need to know what you're taking that is not regular food or tea. This is just bought in a grocery store. Again, you need to tell your healthcare provider that the medicine that you're prescribing from nausea is not working. Medicine that you're prescribing from diarrhea or constipation is not working. It's not working with you have me on. Don't just take it and just assume that it's okay. I'm just going to wait for it to work. If it's working, it's working. You'll know right away. It's not something that takes time for it to work. You have to focus on calories intake. And one of my patients, she said, I'm just so happy to take XPOVIO. I said, well, yeah, me too. It's working for myeloma. She said, forget about myeloma. I can eat whatever I want. And now I'm focusing on increase my calories, not to decrease my calories. So she was very funny. So again, you got to focus on making sure you eat enough. You cannot lose weight. XPOVIO definitely linked to weight loss, but it's linked to weight loss only if you're having nausea and vomiting and loss of appetite. If you're eating properly, focusing on your nutrition, and able to eat without throwing things up and without, having to hold your nose together before, close your nose before you eat something, then you will be fine. You're not going to lose weight. But again, this is things we need to know about it. If you happen to have a nausea and you vomit and you think that you vomited XPOVIO, don't double take the dose. Don't start looking, I'm not going to put you through it. Well, did you look through it? Did you look in your, well, no, I vomited in the toilet. Well, why did you, did you look through it? No, don't, nobody looked through it, and you vomited. Then you take, do not double, because even if you see the pill out, it may have been that the content of the pill had already been distributed. So don't, unless it was in your mouth, you haven't even swallowed it and you spit it out, that's different. But if you swallow the pill and then you vomit it, and the pill is there, don't, first of all, don't look for the pill, but then don't take the extra dose. And if you happen to, by mistake, double dose, just call your doctor right away. Again, the same thing. So if you inadvertently made any changes in the dose of XPOVIO, let your doctor know, or whomever your healthcare provider person is. Again, drink enough fluids, whatever fluid you like. I don't care as long as you're drinking. Just remember that caffeinated fluids will make you pee more, so it's a natural diuretic. So you can drink coffee, just make sure there's not 25 shots of caffeine in there. But on the other hand, it may help you to have more energy. So, we need to balance those out. Also for people who have more advanced disease and have dealing with this fatigue, I use Ritalin very comfortably. I have a lot of patients on Ritalin or other medications for ADD that I use for kids. In adults, it actually stimulates you, and it's been approved for cancer-related fatigue in patients. I've been using Ritalin even before it was approved, for decades. It works very well, and you control it. So today you have a big thing, you have a wedding to go to, or you have a book club that you need to stay awake on. I'll take a dose. Well, today I'm really not doing anything. I'm just kind of hanging around the house. Well, I'm not going to take it. So again, it's not something that has to be taken daily. You take it as needed. Some days you need more dose, some days you need less dose. Patients love it, and it's a good combination of it. The focus here is that Ritalin can cause the loss of appetite, but in lower dose, in a proper dosing, it will be fine. It's not going to. It's only causes weight loss if you're taking it in excessive dose. And by excessive dose, I mean, over 50 milligrams a day. And the dose usually that I start patients on is as low as 5 milligrams. So it's really, again, those are the little things that I learn from patients. because patients tell me how it affects them. I learn by reading from other providers that they're using, and it's not that you're my, it's my clinical trial and I'm trying things on you, but I don't know what will work for you. So I'll try things that are based on what you tell me about yourself, that I will. But again, the more I know about you, the more I know, the more the laundry list I have, the more I'll know about you, because I can read between the lines there. Next slide, please. What you should ask again, we talked about that throughout, which anti-medicine that I should, you need to have that. It's not like if you'll be nauseous. I'm hoping you will not be nauseous, but you have to have it, you have to have a plan. You have to have, it's like we have earthquake plan. Who goes where, who you call. You have to have a plan. What happens if I have nausea? Which medications I use? Who do I call? What happens if I have diarrhea? What happens if I have constipation? What happens if I have fever? Who do I call? What do I do? What medications I take? That has to be documented. You have to have a family member, somebody with you. Now it's COVID time, some centers don't allow you to have a caregiver. FaceTime. And if they tell you, well, we're not allowing FaceTime. Oh, you are. I need to have a caregiver to hear me because I may not remember. The chemo brain is real there. I mean, never had chemo, but I have chemo brain too by default. It's there, it's described, it has been published, it's there. So don't be embarrassed. I'm not going to remember this, or I need somebody to, because I'm it's too overwhelming right now. You tell me about this new medicine, I'm too overwhelmed. I need to have somebody, or let me record what you're saying. So you have to have a person who is, and I'm hoping everybody does. And when I have a patient who does not have that person, I go through the organization like this organization here to help them find a buddy, to help them, at least even if it's a virtual buddy, to help them deal with, to help them remember and go through this. How often do I need to do blood tests? Oh, you don't need to come back for 3 weeks. Wait a minute, I read about this medication, tells me that my counts can drop, my sodium can go down. Why are we not checking my blood work more often? How do I stay hydrated? What do I do? How much hydration is hydration? Me just telling you need to stay hydrated, it's like, me telling my teenager you gotta read. I need to tell you what is exactly hydration means. Well, this 2 liters, this is the bottle. You need to finish this bottle in order to stay hydrated. And if you don't finish this bottle, you need to let me know. Measure it, because sometimes you think that you're drinking, but you're really sipping. Oh, I'm drinking all day. Well, how much you drank? Half a cup. But it feels like you're drinking all day because you're sipping. So measure it. Have a measurement and use that to pour it into whatever cup you're using to drink. Should I expect to lose weight? How much of what lost weight is expected? How much of it I need to worry about? When should I call you? And will my dose be changed? When should I be worried about? Should I be worried about? And who is going to be managing my side effects? Who do I call for the side effects? Do I call you? Do I call the nurse practitioner? Do I call a medical assistant? Do I call the nurse? Who do I call? Who is my first person who I call when I have those side effects? And what should I do if I have something that we didn't talk about? Again, is there something that I need to know? And again, these are the other medications I'm taking. These are the supplements that I'm taking. I'm drinking this tea. Do you think it's okay to drink tea? Again, there's no, first of all, it's true, there's no stupid questions, so please don't think this way. But there's no unnecessary questions. Even if it's something that you think it's absolutely fine, ask, it doesn't hurt. Even one of the patients asked me, I'm taking flaxseed, is it okay? It was a great question because it's really not okay, because flaxseed can increase the diarrhea. So, it was an amazing question because I didn't even think about asking people before they use chia seeds or flaxseed. Both chia seed and flaxseeds, if not used properly, can cause constipation and or diarrhea. I never thought about asking patients before, but now I will, because it's something, again, there's no unnecessary questions. Every question has potential in it. So please never be frightened to ask a question. And if you feel that your provider is not open to those questions, find somebody else. We are here for you. Just remember that you're not here for us. You don't be somebody, they have to be thankful, that we're here to treat them. No. We are here for you. The whole point of me going into my career is to be here for you. So my only person in my life right now is Beth Ian, because that's the person who, and this is how you need to feel. This is how you need to think. Don't think about, oh, she has too many patients, she's too busy. No. Please, the more you talk to us, the more we can help you to be successful in your treatment with selinexor or other medications. And if you're a caregiver, the same goes for you. Please reach out to us. Any things that you notice that may be not important, you think something may be important there. And if it's not, it's not. No big deal. All right. So I want to thank you again for inviting me. I'm happy to see your smiling, beautiful faces. I just want to tell you that you're my heroes. What you're going through is you're fighting, and please keep fighting. We're here to help you. If you need anything to reach out, I'm more than available to talk to you outside of here. I have a lot of patients all over the nation who email me and ask questions. So please keep fighting, and please stay healthy and stay COVID-free.
Thank you so much. That was so, first of all, you're hilarious. And oh, it looks like she accidentally left the meeting. Let's let her back in. I personally learned a lot, and I learned a lot more, more about, the biology of what's happening in our body, but then also I appreciated that you went into depth with those side effects, Karolina, so thank you. And you missed it because you accidentally left, but I think you're hilarious. You were cracking me up the whole time.
I'm pressing the wrong button.
Okay.
Mr. Zoom, UCLA is all about Zoom, so I apologize.
I know. Google Meet is not as user-friendly, but we're getting used to it, right, team? So we're going to open up the question and answer section. We're going to start with 2 of our patient advocates, and then we'll move on to other questions. We're going to have Beth go first. She's going to give a really brief introduction, and then Karolina, she's going to ask a couple questions. And then when Beth's done, we'll move on to Bob. And then after Bob, we'll move on to the rest of the questions that we have. So Beth, if you want to ask your questions, give us an introduction. Oh, you're muted, Beth, so you got to unmute. I always forget to do that, so don't worry.
Yes, there we go. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Beth Ayen, and I live in Casper, Wyoming. I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in November of 1997, so it's been 23 years. And I was 29 at the time. Over this time, I've had over 193 radiation treatments and over 9 different chemotherapy regimens. And so right now I'm on XPOVIO and Velcade, and it's just doing amazing things for me. I feel so much better than I felt in probably 2 or 3 years, actually. And it's reducing tumors and lesions, and it's reducing my or decreasing my light chain numbers and all of that. And so it's just been an amazing thing for me. I feel like something that Karolina had said earlier, when you start feeling better, you want to do more. And that's how I feel, is that I'm able to do a lot more and have energy to live life a little bit in a better way. So anyway, so I also want to thank you, Karolina. That was really good information. One of the things, you hit on this several times, but one of the things I wanted to ask was, could you give a couple of more examples of patients who might have to have a dosage modification or even be taken off treatment because of the side effects and what's happening with that?
So again, the side effects that we talked about that are not controllable was the other forms of support therapy that we have tried. And it should be other, obviously, options. The dose modification will start as first. And again, if the side effects, such as, for example, myelosuppression, so when the counts drop really low and haven't been able to control them, there may be a dose holiday and then dose modification following that. Usually after we've tried 2 to 3 doses modifications, then the drug may have to be stopped. Okay. But again, there's a lot of options that we can try in order to control the potential side effects.
Oh, great. That's perfect. The other question that I had was, so I'm taking it with Velcade. How are those things determined? What do you pair it with? Do you use XPOVIO on its own with dexamethasone, or is it always paired with something else?
Both. I use it as a double agent, and I use it as a triple. So it just depends on what is the disease profile, what the patient had tried before, I think the patient will be able to tolerate. Sometimes we may start with a doublet and then add the triplet, or vice versa. Start with a triplet and then drop it down. It all depends on the patient profile and what the goal of the therapy is.
Great, perfect. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Beth. All right, Bob, you want to turn on your microphone?
Hi, Christina. Hi, folks. Glad to be with you guys this morning. Real quick, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 2015, and I went through all of the drugs that were available, different regimens. And last November, I started with the selinexor or XPOVIO. I had not had any problems with side effects on all the other drugs I had taken up to that point, and I was looking at XPOVIO as just being another one of those sequential drugs I was going to take. Boy, was I wrong. The side effects at 100 milligram dosage just knocked me down. I had no energy, no stamina. I had all the bad side effects except the loss of appetite and weight loss. And so, another thing we discovered, and my wife had been on me for a long time about my sleep patterns. So I finally succumbed to having a sleep study done, and I found out I had sleep apnea in a severe form. So last Friday, I began using an apparatus to help me sleep better, and miraculously, I sleep great, except the days that I take my dexamethasone. And like last night I call it my steroid night. There's no sleep at all. And that's pretty common for most folks, I imagine. But when I was on the 100 milligrams of the XPOVIO, I had these I've had chemo brain, I know, and but this just seemed to be more severe, almost like I'm having out-of-body experiences, like I was sitting next to myself. Kind of tough to explain. So I battled that, and we decided to go. At 100 milligrams, my efficacy rate was great. It dropped my light chains down by 60%. Very, very effective. But I just didn't want to keep feeling like that. So we decided to go down to 80 milligrams dosage, and I was tolerating that much better, but my blood platelets were dropping to the point where I could not take my chemotherapy. So we decided to go down to 60 milligrams to see how my body reacted to that. And we got back into the low 60s on the blood platelets so I could continue chemotherapy. And I felt much better handling the other side effects. And I didn't have any GI issues. Sleep was a big issue, the tiredness. And so I think we have addressed that. But I had severe weight gain. I gained 20 pounds this last month. Now, we're not sure why, and we decided to postpone any further dosages or chemotherapy until we get some more data points and try to make some sense of why I gained all this additional weight. Nobody understands why at this point. So that leads me to my next question. Dexamethasone. Is there any studies or work being done on a substitute for dexamethasone that doesn't have all the side effects?
Unfortunately not. The point of the dexamethasone is the function of the steroid on the plasma cell. However, first of all, what I do in the practice is we do dose reduction. So I'm not sure what dose of dexamethasone you're on. And then I do a dose split. So instead of taking a humongous dose at a time, we split it in 2 doses throughout the week. Sometimes that will mitigate the side effect of restlessness and the weight gain.
Well, then, in my case, we did reduce the dexamethasone and also split it, where I'm taking it 2 days a week instead of just one.
In a row?
Pardon me?
2 days in a row?
Yes.
That's the point. You need to split them more in between the days. So for example, Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, that helps to mitigate some of because taking it 2 days in a row is almost the same thing. So I've noticed it with my patients, splitting it with a couple of days in between sometimes helps, not sometimes, it helps pretty good with severe restlessness and the weight gain.
Okay, I'll pass that information along to my oncologist.
The efficacy does not change.
Okay.
And that had been shown in several trials.
Yeah, in going down to the 60 milligram dosage, my efficacy continued to lower my light chain count a slight amount, but it wasn't going up even
Also,
at that lower
sometimes,
dosage.
sometimes based on the age of the patient and the previous therapy that I've received, starting a lower dose sometimes gives you a better outcome. So start lower and then go up if needed. Instead of starting high and then going down. So that was XPOVIO, selinexor. It really showed to be very effective to do kind of a slow steps. So frequently I will start with a lower dose and then go up if needed. And sometimes lower dose is all you need. We're not looking for cure, right? We're looking for stable, better disease. So we're looking for a response. As long as we get the best response, that's all we need.
Right.
Looks like Bob kind of did the opposite of that, huh, Bob?
Yeah,
a lot of people do. They start with the high dose and then it creates, and sometimes it's hard to chase those side effects. Then you have to pull the drug and it gives you that bad taste. Oh God, that XPOVIO. So sometimes, again, starting, I have to tell you that anyone who, in my practice, that is over age 60, do not start with a higher dose. Start with a lower dose, and then I go up if needed.
All right.
Particularly if it's more cycles.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, but we're slowing down or cutting short on time. I can't think of that phrase right now. But we just want to fit in a couple more questions, and then we'll be done. So one of the questions from Siam is, how does XPOVIO actually recognize the cancer cells? Because we only want to target those cancer cells. So how does XPOVIO do that?
So unfortunately, it doesn't only recognize the cancer cell, it also affects some of the healthy cells, and that's why you have side effects. But cancer cells are specifically the need of that protein, that clearing protein, is absolutely necessary for it. It's more, I cannot think of the word either. It's more expressed. There it goes. There, I found it. It's overexpressed in myeloma cells, and it's underexpressed in healthy cells. And because of that, you have a much more efficacy towards myeloma cells. But unfortunately, it does damage some of the healthy cells, and hence there's a side effect. And that's where, when the clinical trials, the dose acceleration trials were important to determine what is the best dose for the efficacy of the drug without severe side effect profile. But again, because the specific protein that the XPOVIO blocks is overexpressed myeloma cells, and myeloma cells are absolutely dependent on it, that's why the drug is effective.
Great. And then one more question. Why isn't XPOVIO moved up front in the treatment? Why only after 4 prior regimens? But I believe, wasn't there, maybe it's still in clinical trial, but I believe that they are moving it forward. I believe we even have some patients.
So first of all, because it was given expedited approval. So usually when there's expedited approval, it's usually lowercase. Second of all, because of the side effect profile of XPOVIO, the drug, and frequently in myeloma, because they have to show, when you do a clinical trial, you have to show that what's on the market in a front line or second line is not what you are proposing drug is better than what's available in the market. So clinical trials have to be done head to head in order to demonstrate efficacy, such as, for example, carfilzomib. The approval of the front of line treatment for myeloma is still Velcade, Revlimid, dexamethasone, because there hasn't been effective trials that show that using a front line of carfilzomib is more effective. So the clinical trials have to show, the FDA have to see that what you're proposing is better than what's available.
Okay. And then, okay, this will be our very last question, but how quick can XPOVIO shrink plasmacytomas?
In a clinical trial, 40% of patients who were on a clinical trial had plasmacytoma, which is an excellent question. And that's where unfortunately, the plasmacytoma disease is harder to manage. In a clinical trials, the point of response was 1.3 months. So it took, what is it, 1.3 months, 5-6 weeks to see the best response.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Karolina, and thank you to all who asked questions. I'm sorry we're running late, but that was such a great presentation, and it was so great to hear that. I'm just going to finish out with some announcements, and then we can finish for today.
Thank you so much. I will hopefully to see you soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so our next selinexor support group meeting will be on April 28th, 2021, and that's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And Beth, who actually presented earlier today, she's going to be sharing her story. It's going to be sharing selinexor stories again. So Beth is going to be sharing her story, and then we also want to hear from you. What's your selinexor story? Are you on it? Are you thinking about using it? And we get to just have a more intimate meeting next time and learn from Beth and talk to each other about our experiences. I did want to tell you about some upcoming events, and we have several, so I'll try to hit them quickly. Tomorrow we have 2 events. One of them is our plasma cell leukemia support group, and we're going to be talking about what to do at the time of relapse. So we'd love to see you there if you are a plasma cell leukemia patient. I know that selinexor is also something that is being looked into for plasma cell leukemia treatment at this time. Thursday, March 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time is our African American myeloma chapter, and that's going to be myeloma one-on-one within the African American community, and that's Dr. Craig Cole. He's from Michigan State University that's going to be speaking to us. Friday, March 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I know that's late, and I know it's a Friday, but if you can join us, that would be great. It's going to be the launch of our relapsed refractory myeloma patients chapter. Sign up even if you can't make it so that you can get the recording. We're going to hear from Dr. Agni Painter, and she's going to be talking about a new drug for the relapsed refractory myeloma patients, which is melflufen, which has been recently approved by the FDA. And then on Tuesday, March 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we're going to be having our nutrition and wellness for myeloma chapter. We're going to be talking about the benefits of plant-based eating above and below the belt, everything from improving headaches to improving sexual wellness. We're going to be talking about that with Jane Esselstein. And then on Thursday, April 1st, we're going to have the launch of our stem cell transplant chapter. I am so excited about this one. Myeloma coaches have come together and talked about their real experiences and have a lot that they want to share. If you're thinking about a stem cell transplant, you've even been through a stem cell transplant, it's really exciting. They're going to be asking for ideas and sharing ideas about how to prepare the next generation of myeloma patients for their stem cell transplants. To register for any of those events, you can get them at www.myelomacrowd.org/events. And again, special thanks to our community sponsors, Bristol Myers Squibb, Amgen Oncology, Karyopharm Therapeutics, AbbVie, Adaptive Biotechnologies, Genentech Oncopeptides, and Takeda Oncology. And thank you for joining us today and for helping us grow our myeloma community. Again, it's great to see you, and I'm happy to have you here, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.